So now we're going to uh, do our next lesson. That's the first extract here. So here the first extract, 12A, is an extract from the book Alice in Wonderland. Okay, now you may have heard of the book Alice in Wonderland. It's written by Lewis Carroll. Okay, now Lewis Carroll, he lived between 1832 and 1898. Okay, his actual name was Charles Ludwig Dodgson. Okay, now what is this book actually about? It's about a little girl and she's daydreaming. Okay, and she visits many people and goes to different places, and many things happen to her throughout the book. But they're all very improbable things that seem to be, impossible. Like she grows really big in one instance and she touches the ceiling when she eats a piece of cake, and then she becomes really tiny in another part of the book when she drinks a secret potion. And then she meets talking animals, and quite often she's talking to herself. And that is what the whole book is about, actually. And how does this book actually start? It is when Alice is, sleeping off. She's getting bored because her sister is reading to her, and she doesn't like it. And then, as we go into the story, the extract that we're doing today, she has eaten a piece of cake and she's become really huge, and she's touching the ceiling. She's become so big and she can't go through a gate to go into the garden. Okay, so now we'll read the text together. So you can open your book to page 153. Okay, Pool of Tears. This is an extract from Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. Now, Lewis Carroll, that's his pen name or pseudonym, as we'd say, the authors. Okay, and they say that actually he based this character on a little girl who he had known was the daughter of the dean of the church where he went to, and that little girl's name was Alice Little. Okay, so now we'll read our text. In Alice's dream, she has fallen down a rabbit hole and eaten a cake which has made her grow so tall that she cannot get through a small gate into a garden. Curiouser and curiouser, cried Alice. She was so much surprised that for the moment she quite forgot how to speak good English. So when she says that itself, you know that she's filled with awe and she's really surprised. Now I'm opening out like the largest telescope that ever was. That's what I told you. She'd become very big. Remember when she'd picked up a piece of cake that had Eat Me written on it? Okay? Goodbye, feet. For when she looked down at her feet, they seemed to be almost out of sight. They were getting so far off. So she's getting bigger and she can't see her feet anymore. Oh, my poor little feet. I wonder who will put on your shoes and stockings for you now, dears. So you see, she's talking to her feet. There's nobody else there. I'm sure I shan't be able to. I shan't be able. I shall be a great deal too far off to trouble myself about you. You must manage the best way you can, but I must be kind to them, thought Alice. Or perhaps they won't walk the way I want to go. Let me see. I'll give them a new pair of boots every Christmas. So you see the way she's talking, the way she's behaving itself, it seems sort of silly. But a little child, of course, she can feel and talk as she wishes. And she went on planning to herself how she would manage it. They must go by the carrier, she thought. So that means she's going to send a new pair of shoes to her feet by courier. And how funny it'll seem, sending presents to one's own feet, and how odd the directions will look. So we go on to the next page there. So she is imagining how crazy, how funny it would be that she is sending a parcel to her feet. So, and she's thinking of the directions there. Alice's right foot, Esquire. Hearthrug, near the fender, with Alice's love. Hearthrug is usually a rug or a carpet that we have near the fireplace. Okay? Oh dear, what nonsense I'm talking. Just then her head struck against the roof of the hall. In fact, she was now more than 9 feet high, and she at once took up the little golden key and hurried off to the garden door. Poor Alice! It was as much as she could do, lying down to one side to look through into the garden with one eye. But to get through was more hopeless than ever. She sat down and began to cry. So now, when she's become big, she's got the key in her hand and she wants to open the garden door. So she lies down because she's so big and she can't see the keyhole. And she realizes that even if she opens the keyhole to go into the garden, she can't go because she's so big. And then she starts crying. You ought to be ashamed of yourself, said Alice. A great girl like you. She might well say this. Of course, great because now she's become so big. To go on crying in this way. Stop this moment, I tell you. So, all this she's talking to herself, okay? But she went on all the same, shedding gallons of tears until there was a large pool all around her, about 4 inches deep and reaching half down the hall. So, because she's big, her tears also are naturally bigger and seems to have filled the hall where she is now. Okay? So now she hears somebody coming along. And who's this person who's coming along? It is the rabbit. Okay? After a time, she heard a little pattering of feet in the distance, and she hastily, that means hurriedly, dried her eyes to see what was coming. It was the white rabbit returning, splendidly dressed, with a pair of white kid gloves in one hand and a large fan in the other. He came trotting along in a great hurry, muttering to himself as he came, "Oh, the Duchess, the Duchess! Oh, won't she be savage if I've kept her waiting?" Now, a Duchess is a person of royalty from a noble family, okay, and he is going to meet her. So he's in a real hurry because he's getting late. And he says that she will get angry if he keeps her waiting. Alice felt so desperate that she was ready to ask help of anyone. So when the rabbit came near her, she began in a low, timid voice, in a shy voice, "If you please, sir." The rabbit started violently. He was shocked. "Who's this talking to me?" Dropped the white kid gloves and the fan and scurried away into the darkness as hard as he could go. As fast as he could go, he hurries away. Alice took up the fan and gloves, and as the hall was very hot, she kept fanning herself all the time she went on talking. "Dear, dear, how queer everything is today." Queer means strange. And yesterday, things went on just as usual. I wonder if I've been changed in the night. Let me think. Was I the same when I got up this morning? I almost think I can remember feeling a little different. But if I'm not the same, the next question is, who in the world am I? Ah, that's the great puzzle. So you see here that she's wondering what's happening. and she's met this rabbit, and she is really surprised because he's scared and he just throws his things away and he runs away. But at the same time, she's upset and she's confused and she doesn't realize what has happened to her. Okay, so now we'll go on to the next page, the exercise there. So you have question 2 there. A. Dreams have characteristics which make them different from reality. In pairs, list all the ways you can tell that 212A is a dream story. Okay, how do we know that it is a dream story? Any of you, can you tell me? You may have got some answers. Okay, one is the fact that she's become so big. She's become so tall, right? There's a big physical change. Then, of course, the way she's talking, it seems so nonsensical, isn't it? And that there. And then you have the exaggerated events of her growing so tall. That's exaggerated. That usually doesn't happen, isn't it? Then you have talking animals, right? You have talking animals there. So naturally, these tell us that it is a dream, it's not real. Okay, then B. In text 12a, Alice talks to herself. Why do you think the writer made uh, her do this? Why is she talking to herself? Discuss the possible reasons with your partner. Okay, maybe she's talking to herself because we want the reader to know what she's thinking and what she's feeling, right? And not only that, once again, you realize that it's not real, right? We're into the dream world, that she is in the dream world. And you know that normal people usually don't talk to themselves aloud. Maybe in your mind you talk to yourself, but usually aloud we don't see people talking to themselves, right? Okay. Now you can think, see there. Now, if this were your story, what would you make happen next to Alice? Share your idea with your partner and discuss which is best. Okay, there, if you can talk with somebody at home and then you can decide about that. Okay, now next, question 3. A. Alice quite forgot how to speak good English when she said curiouser and curiouser. What is wrong with this phrase? Write what Alice should have said. Okay, now this I'd like y'all to do it. Okay, I'd like y'all to do this. So here, you'll have to tell me what is wrong with it, okay, and write exactly what she should have said. So you could put that into the box for me today. Okay, now B. Discuss the formation of comparative adjectives with a partner. For example, why is happier the comparative of happy, but more hopeless the comparative of hopeless. Now this we done last year. So if you remember the lesson on adjectives, right? You'll be able to remember the reason there. Now copy the table below into your notebook and list 5 more examples of adjectives which don't use more and 5 more examples of those which do in the comparative form. Read the key point below about the comparative and superlative forms of the adjectives to help you. Okay, now this without now just today, I'd like you, without reading the key point, just see if you can remember what we had done in the previous year, okay, and fill in the box with 5 one-word comparative adjectives and 5 comparative adjectives with more. Just try and do it on your own. In your next class, we'll read the key point, okay, and we'll continue with the next extract. Okay, now 3C, adjectives also have a superlative form to describe the most of many, as in largest telescope that ever was. Largest is superlative there. The most frightening sight she had ever seen. Give the superlative of the following adjectives, taking care with the spelling. So, this I'd like you to also do. Okay. So, here I'd like you to put in the answers for 3A, okay, 3B, and 3C, okay, for Monday. I don't think you'll find that difficult. It'll be quite easy. Okay. So please do those for me. The third exercise that we're talking about is all related to comparative and superlative of adjectives. So try and recall what you've done. Okay. And try and do those questions there. I don't think you'll have a problem there. Okay. Okay then. So all of you, have a great day and good morning once again, all of you.